Anyone else just completely lost right now? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. If it feels like we're talking about Juan Soto basically every single day, it's because you're absolutely correct. This is basically the one big thing going on in Major League Baseball right now, and the Red Sox are right in the thick of it, so we have to talk about it every time it comes up. And yesterday, we had a flurry of reports that connected the Red Sox to Juan Soto, so we're going to talk about all the latest rumblings surrounding the Sox and Soto and what this could mean for their offseason. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Now, I know it sounds kind of utterly ridiculous to think about the idea that Juan Soto's kind of the only player we could talk about with the Red Sox right now when it comes to reports, because there's just so many players available on this year's market, but it's kind of the truth. In fact, I'm not the only one who's saying this. Ken Rosenthal yesterday went so far as to call the rest of the top of this free agent market Soto's dominoes. Quote, Soto's dominoes, the free agents that will fall once Soto picks his team. With the baseball world waiting on Soto's decision and every other free agent waiting for Soto to set his market, rumors are coming from absolutely everywhere. In fact, if your head is spinning right now trying to figure out where Juan Soto is and where the Red Sox are in relation to that, you're certainly not alone. In the last couple of days alone, we've got, 3 or 4 different sources that are saying completely different things about where the Red Sox are at. And today, we're only going to muddy that water even more, because yesterday, it was sort of a flurry of New York beat reporters talking about where everything stands in this Soto sweepstakes. So we've got a lot to cover, starting with this wonderful angle of Jon Heyman, in which he was talking about the Soto sweepstakes, saying that it's through the first 2 rounds. Remember, we heard earlier Soto is planning to have 3 rounds. He also said that every team that placed a bid on Juan Soto still very much in the running: Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Mets. Then what's the point of the rounds? What are we doing rounds for if we're not eliminating teams through the process, right? Why have 3 different rounds of bidding if all the teams are going to remain in it? Just make it an open bidding field, right? It makes absolutely no sense to me, but you also have to take into consideration the source here, right? Every time we talk about Jon Heyman, I feel like we have to talk about him because he is an accredited national journalist, but when it comes to Scott Boras and big Boras clients, Jon Heyman just sort of feels like a strategic announcement put together by the Boras camp, right? We know Jon Heyman is a mouthpiece for the Boras organization. We know that he is playing for Scott Boras when he makes these kind of comments, so it does kind of make sense that Scott Boras' camp wants everyone, including hopefully other teams, to feel as though every other team has a legitimate shot. Behind the scenes, there may have already been teams eliminated. I know there were some rumors about the Dodgers just simply being in on Juan Soto to hopefully put some pressure on Teoscar Hernandez. I honestly don't know what the legitimacy of those rumors are. We know that the Blue Jays have pretty much nationally been written off a bit, which we're going to get to in a second, but I did want to mention that here because it feels as though we're getting closer to a Juan Soto decision. Again, if he is going through those 3 rounds, which makes no sense to me if you're not going to eliminate teams, but that's besides the point. We're a round away from a Soto decision. Now, outside of Jon Heyman, the next beat reporter that we need to talk about is beat reporter Randy Miller, who writes for the New York Yankees, because he actually had a pretty Red Sox positive report to give. He said, quote, "The Red Sox have emerged as a favorite, maybe the favorite, to land Juan Soto. 2 people with knowledge of the contract negotiations told New Jersey Advance Media." He also said one person he talked to believes the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Blue Jays have all made offers upwards of $600 million, while the Yankees are in the $550 million range, which may potentially be the Yankees' maximum offer, which would be amazing because it essentially takes the Yankees out of this conversation, right? If they are only willing to go to $550 million, well, they're already behind in the race. And at the end of the day, as long as he doesn't go back to the Yankees, I think we'll all be at least moderately satisfied. Obviously disappointed it wasn't the Red Sox, but happy at least it wasn't the Yankees. Now, Randy, historically with New York beat reporting, specifically with the Yankees, hasn't been the most accurate reporter over the last couple of years. So there is some questionable reliability when it comes to this report. But I will say this is now the second legitimate reporter. We got Hector Gomez the other day talking about the actual contract offer the Red Sox gave. We made an entire video about that, and they're both sort of in the same boat, right? Upwards of $600 million, or in that $600 million range. So to me, that's a part of this report that I'm really going to take seriously, because it is now a second person sort of confirming the Red Sox are in that $600 million range. And at the end of the day, they're still in the dance, right? That is a very serious competitive offer for Juan Soto. And so that's really the only thing you can possibly take out of this conversation. I don't know if I still put the Red Sox as the favorite to land Juan Soto. I still think the favorite amongst most national reporters right now is still the New York Mets, but it's nice to see the Red Sox are at least in that conversation, especially coming from somebody whose job it is to talk about the New York Yankees. On top of what he said about the actual bidding, he also said that the Sox told Juan Soto they intend to sign 2 additional big money free agents, another hitter and another pitcher. I personally always assumed that if the Red Sox were going to spend money on Juan Soto, they were going to have to spend money elsewhere, right? It never made any sense to me why people thought if the Red Sox got Juan Soto on this team that they'd just be like, all right, done, right? That's the offseason. If you were going to spend that kind of money, you're going to make a competitive baseball team, and they need pitching. So I figured if they were going to sign Soto, they were still going to spend, although I'm not entirely sure where that big other bat is going to come from. I know there are options on the free agent market, but none of them are truly a perfect fit, especially if you sign Juan Soto. So that's going to be extremely interesting. I don't know how much stock I'm putting into a New York beat reporter talking about what the Red Sox are looking for on the open market, but what I will say is, again, it kind of fits in line with other reports we've heard, specifically that frontline starting pitching report. We've heard a ton of those over the last couple of weeks. So everything Randy Miller said, despite his sort of, I'm not going to say lack of credibility, because he absolutely still has credibility, but some inaccuracies in his reporting lately, these all kind of align with other reports we've heard, so it kind of feels like they're in line with what's actually going on with Soto and the Red Sox. Outside of those two, the reports just keep on coming, because Jack Curry of Yes Network also put his analysis on where everything stands right now, talking about how he believes the Yankees and Juan Soto are having a lot of productive conversations, and that the Yankees have put their best foot forward. Shockingly, the Yankees analyst, right, is assuming that the Yankees are doing their due diligence. I don't really think this is any sort of groundbreaking news. We know that the Yankees are still in this conversation. We know that the Yankees are still a big player for this Juan Soto sweepstakes. It's not shocking to me whatsoever that people believe that they are trying their best. They're under a lot of pressure to re-sign him. Of course, they're going to be trying to do that. He did also mention that he kind of feels like the Red Sox aren't a good fit for Juan Soto, and this is going to come down to the 2 New York teams. Again, shocker, right? I think this, if he had said anything else, he probably wouldn't have a job in the morning. So I don't really take this one crazy seriously. It also kind of feels like, because there was no mention of legitimate sources, there was no mention of money, there was no mention of a contract offer, that this is kind of a gut feeling from Jack Curry, that this is sort of a, okay, I've seen all the evidence, I've talked to some people, here's what I'm going to assume is going to happen, as opposed to this is what is actually going to happen, right? I still think it's interesting and worth noting that there are people out there who are putting the Yankees and the Mets firmly above the Red Sox, then sort of having the Red Sox in the mix of these conversations like we've seen over the last couple of days. It just kind of sucks it comes from a Yes Network guy, because that sort of takes the credibility out of putting the Red Sox below the Yankees first. So I don't really know what to make of this one, but I did want to include it as well. And finally, we do have one more report that we need to talk about, and that is from Andy Martino, who said, quote, "I don't think anyone knows where Juan wants to play except for Juan and Boris and maybe Juan's family. To me, this feels like the most accurate thing that anyone has said in this entire video, right? Everyone else, it feels like it's trying to put pieces together, trying to take tidbits of information and create a full picture, when in reality, they just have the information that they're given. They are given a small piece of the puzzle here, and they are tasked with creating the entire puzzle. Andy Martino's sitting there saying, yeah, we got bits and pieces, but ultimately, we have absolutely no idea, and I think that is absolutely the correct way to be looking at this Juan Soto sweepstakes right now, because we genuinely have absolutely no idea. One important thing I did want to put into this video is that we have been discounting the Blue Jays a little bit. I don't think we should be discounting the Blue Jays anymore. Martino said that Juan Soto is willing to play there, and they are a legitimate threat. We've had other reports saying that people believe that the Blue Jays will end up with the highest contract offer on the market, even higher than the Mets at the end of the day. So I think the Blue Jays are a legitimate threat here. I don't know if we take into all the factors that we've heard Juan Soto wanting from teams and wanting when he's committing to a really large contract, that the Blue Jays make the most sense, especially if they don't have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, or really anyone truly locked up for the foreseeable future with the kind of terrible farm system that they have right now. I think those are things working against them. But at the end of the day, if they're 150, 60, 70 million, whatever it is, over the next best offer, maybe that's enough to sway him to sign for Toronto. I think it's something to at least keep an eye on. Look, at the end of the day, taking a look at all of these conversations, like I said, it's enough to make your head spin, right? I think at this point where we're at as fans, it's just sort of a, hey, when are we going to get a conclusion to this? It's frustrating having to sift through all of these different reports to try and come up with some concrete conclusion as to where this stuff is, because there is no concrete conclusion right now. There's no avenue that we could take to firmly set where Juan Soto is at. Andy Martino said it the best. No one but Scott Boras, Juan Soto, and Juan Soto's family truly know where he's at in this process, and anything outside of that is just taking small pieces to create a bigger picture. So what does this mean for us as fans trying to figure out where this Juan Soto sweepstakes are at? I think the best way to look at this is to look at the aggregate from all these reports. Look at all the factors that remain sort of similar here amongst all these conversations. That is that the Red Sox are still in this thing. They're not even just slightly in this thing. They're legitimately in this thing. Juan Soto to the Red Sox has become a legitimate, distinct possibility, whether you firmly believe that or not. At this point, I think we can confirm that the Red Sox are in terms of money. They're in terms of wanting to get him on this team, and Juan Soto has legitimate interest in this team, and that's sort of where the concrete evidence stops. From there, we have absolutely no idea. Now, what I will say is that for those of you who are absolutely sick and tired of talking about Juan Soto and are ready to move on to the next topic with this Red Sox team, regardless of where he ends up, we should be getting a decision sometime soon. From the very beginning of the offseason, the conversation was always Juan Soto's probably going to decide by the start or by midway through winter meetings. Well, we are a week away from winter meetings, and if Jon Heyman is to be believed, we are in the final round of his decision making. So this conversation should end within the next 7 days. I'm really hoping it ends with the Red Sox transforming the future of their franchise with a generational talent. But even if it doesn't, it's going to be exciting to see the Red Sox sort of go into this flurry of moves as other players' markets start to open up with the decision from Juan Soto. So regardless of where you sit on wanting to talk about Juan Soto, this conversation should be coming to an end soon. But until it does, let me know where you stand. We got a whole new section of reports yesterday. We're probably going to get a whole new section of reports over the next coming days. Where are you on this Juan Soto thing? Are you more optimistic about Soto coming here? Are you less optimistic? Where would you put the Red Sox chances of all this? And where are you standing on the Red Sox with Juan Soto? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you want to listen instead of watch these episodes, best way to do that is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.